Hey, yeah. Again, I'll say again, how are you?
Great.
Yeah, it's good to see your face again, and thank you like so much for doing this. I know I'm dragging you, kicking it.
I mean, I figured I couldn't ask you to do collabs with us and turn this down. So um, let me see if they can turn off the fan. It's really hot where our office is.
Okay. Is it
And
making a loud noise on your end? Is that what it is?
is it make? Can you hear it?
I can't hear it. No.
Oh, then it's fine.
I don't know if like in headphones it picks up, but just listening to it right now, I don't hear anything. So,
Okay. If it bothers you, let me know.
okay, I will. So yeah, I really um I'll allow you to introduce yourself. I could dive into like all the I could introduce you, but I think I'd rather just dive into letting you know in conversation um why I think it's important to to talk to you and to bring you onto this
Okay.
platform that I'm trying to create. But go ahead.
So my name is Angela Tsay, and I'm the CEO and creative director at Oaklandish, which is a civic pride apparel company based here in Oakland, California. We started in 2000 as more of a public art project, guerrilla street art project that I wasn't really involved with. That was my ex-husband's uh, invention. And then the current incarnation of Oaklandish as an apparel line, a civic pride apparel line, really started, I'd say, in like 2006. And then we opened the downtown store on Broadway in 2011, and that kind of changed the whole scale of the brand and the business and our impact in Oakland. But we're also certified B Corp. We've been certified since 2012, and we really are trying to create good jobs here in Oakland and create a sense of belonging for people who want to wear Oaklandish.
Yeah. I jumped onto the Oaklandish Wikipedia page. I'm sure that'll
Yeah, there's a lot of inaccuracy there, but I don't feel like it's my place to fix it.
sure.
Yeah.
But I have to say that I was impressed with, you know, opening in 2000, and even like managing the incarnation that you've been at the helm of since you said 2006.
Mhm.
Like most business people don't stay open for 5 years, and it sounds like you pulled a tremendous enterprise through so many different shifts and changes. And I think that there's something to be said about being what I'm learning more and more about what I want to do with my visions is being a business operator and what
Mhm.
that all that entails.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot harder than people think it is,
Mhm.
right? It's like I think a lot of people think that you can just create a t-shirt line and people will buy it and you'll still be around in a few years. But I think people are so fiercely proud of being from Oakland that we've had an easier go of it than a lot of different other kinds of brand ideas. But we definitely are very different now than what we started out as, or even what we were like in 2011 when we first opened the store. But as a business, we really got our start at the Grand Lake Farmers Market and going to all the local street fairs and festivals. And for many years, like I was the girl in the truck.
Mm.
I'd go to Safeway and the cashier at Safeway would be like, "You're the girl in the truck." I'd be like, "Yeah, I am." Um, so we gave up our, our weekends for most of the summer, at least, for years, and, weekends almost all year round, because you had to, wake up 7, 8, o'clock and go and get our crazy converted van truck camper thing that we had and go set it up at a street fair or festival. So, we had kind of carny beginnings. And so like managing that shift from that kind of business to what we are now has been a challenge, but it's been fun.
Yeah, I think there's another thing that I'm being considerate of when it comes to deciding the shape of my business, my business perspective, is bringing value to the people in creative ways, fun ways, figuring out ways of considering my market, considering the people that are going to support me and keep me around, and what can I do to make them give me the grace of providing that sort of support, and I think it sounds like you tuned into that pretty well with creating the Oaklandish brand.
I mean, one of the things that we talk about internally is that we haven't tried, this may be a failing on our part, but we haven't really like clearly articulated what Oaklandish is as a brand, and we've let it kind of be more amorphous and let people project what they need from the brand onto the brand, so that everyone takes from it what they need. And so like we are in no way as big as what the Obama campaign was in 2008 with the hope posters and everything like that. But I think that was also something that was positive, that was kind of an open brand that let people project their hope into the hope campaign, right?
Sure.
Although, obviously he had things that he was running on and things like that, but ultimately it was an open brand. Instead of saying, we are these 7 things.
Sure. But I think in that there's an unseen value. It reminds me of whenever I have an art exhibit, and people come to me and they look at a piece and they're like, what is this? I always turn it around and I'm like, well, what do you see? And that's when they communicate to me, the scenery. They communicate to me that, this piece looks like my cousin. I love when people fall into it, and utilize. I've said that I want my work to be, a invitation for people to fall into their own imaginations, So yeah. I think with, again, your brand and with, like, and I also have to say, like you communicate value to Oakland locals and Bay Area people who appreciate the East Bay and so on and so forth. But I definitely think that as Oakland has become more of a pull for visitors, and for the curious, that come from all over the world, which is what the Bay Area has done for so long. Yeah. Like, you've done well at making sure that enough visitors are like, we have to go to Oakland and get an Oaklandish t-shirt. Like that is we have to come back to Philly. We have to come back to London. We have to come back to Tokyo and have that logo, that lets people know that we have visited, that we visited Oakland, and I think that there's something, I think there's something super inspiring about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the way
All right, we got cut off and we're back, but go ahead. I don't know if you
um,
your
I
thoughts.
think I think I was saying what what you said about your work is, specifically Olgaruth being an invitation to people's imagination.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, my
Um,
yes.
so, I mean, I think that's a really beautiful way of putting it, and leaving it open because, for work or a brand to resonate with people, if you talk too much about it, if you're too specific about it, then that limits who it can resonate with,
Mm,
right? And I think that um, the beauty of your work and the strength of the Oaklandish brand are partly because they leave it open, and so there's a diverse array of people who are interested,
hmm.
right? And then those people can then interact together and talk to each other instead of being siloed, how we and more live siloed in our online and real world lives. And that's the source of a lot of our problems, is that we only talk to people who look like us and think like us.
Mm.
And that just, no matter what kind of group it is, that just perpetuates and exacerbates problems.
Yeah, you can say that again. There's definitely I'm recognizing that I'm avoiding people that agree with me. I'm like, oh man. But I there's so there's so much opportunity in the gray area. There's so much opportunity in the in to like we are in a time where people uh feel obligated to the extremes,
Mm-hmm.
and they're again they're believing the more black and white you see
Right.
things, the more righteous your stance,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and righteousness is overrated. Judgment is overrated, and I think what you said just speaks to people stepping outside of themselves, um and becoming more acquainted with nuance when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to life, and the how much enjoyment there is in that, for sure.
Yeah.
Speak a little bit about the artist collabs that you've been doing, because that definitely has been one of my favorite, uh
Mm-hmm.
on top of contributing to the Oaklandish artist collabs, just being on the edge of my seat for who you got coming up next,
Mm-hmm.
is just a great storytelling project with you guys.
Yeah. I mean, like we've been kind of mining all this like iconic Oakland imagery of cranes and the lake and the lamps around the lake or the Tribune building or whatever for so long. And it's like, honestly, it's like part of it was just born out of the fact that we were so burnt out on the creative process internally,
Mm,
um, and just wanted to see some other people's perspectives, and also felt that we were doing a poor job of like bringing the artist community to our customers and fans, um, that we weren't being like inclusive enough and really trying to amplify what was happening here artistically outside of anything that we were doing, um, but really just wanted to like get reinvigorated and to share what all of these amazing artists in Oakland and locally have been doing, and um, people that we've been inspired by over the years, and wanted to share your work with the people who know us but maybe don't know you, and then maybe you share us with people who know you that don't know us. So I think it's been a really great project, and we're it's fun now to like kind of to start on the second round of that. So like we just launched the second collab collection with Human a couple weeks ago in conjunction with her Homebody show, and now working with you on the second round with Olgaruth. So that's really exciting. And then also working with some artists that we've known and followed for years, but just hadn't connected to do the collabs yet. So I don't want to say all who they are to ruin it, because we haven't, nailed everything down. But, some of those other artists that you're probably thinking, why haven't they done one yet? Those are in the works as well.
So basically, stay tuned, for exciting things around the corner. It sounds like, yeah. Not, to hear you say that there's failures, of in the past. I think you just got tuned into opportunities, and you took advantage of those, and I think that there is, I think that again, that's a great message for anybody out there, just looking at life and the challenges at hand. And I'm an optimist, so I always just like recognizing opportunity and paying attention to those of us with whom that is how they sustain themselves, and that's how they keep whatever big project in the air is, being tuned into the opportunities that's based upon your community, So yeah, with the Olgaruth project, and the Olgaruth tokens that I'm going to be dropping soon, and with the work that I've done with you thus far, and I'm getting weird and geeky and really diving into this place, and extracting, culture from my imagination and utilizing you guys as a method of being a vehicle for this project. I wanted to just ask you about your relationship with sci-fi. Do you do you like sci-fi? Do you like sci-fi fantasy and so on and so forth?
I mean, I read a fair amount of sci-fi, but most of it many years ago when I was much more nerdy. I mean, I'm probably still very nerdy, but I read dumber stuff now, I guess. So I don't feel like I can talk like very intelligently about sci-fi as, like all the sociological aspects of it, and I wouldn't be able to debate you about sci-fi. But I mean, I feel like, I've read enough about it. It's like, obviously, like many things that have been written about have now come to pass, right? It's like these people who you thought were once crazy or really, out of this world, whatever, right? Like there were patterns that they saw that have resulted in a present where some of the things that seemed far-fetched and way off in the future, whatever, 20, 30 years ago, like we are in it now.
Sure.
So that shows that what seems far-fetched now could very well become reality.
Sure.
And at the same time, it's like the kinds of things that trouble us now, like the us and the them, right? It's like those, and what humans are and what is identity, right? It's like those kinds of themes are always going to be with us. And I think, it's kind of like when people think that they'll solve a problem that they just move to another city, right? It's like in the other dimension of time, those problems can't be escaped either.
Mm.
So, yeah, I don't know where I was headed with that.
No, I think there was something profound there, in whatever excursions you take, you're always taking you with you,
Right.
So I think that there's something to be said. I'm always the type, you know, if the suggestion pops up to leave, like I'm always the type, then get the fuck out of here. Like if you need to pack your bags and go away, because there is not necessarily that you're trying to run away from yourself, but that you're going out to find an important piece of yourself somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that, I'm not saying that like don't ever move or don't ever, try to push forward some idea or thought or campaign, right? But it's just there's some core that doesn't change.
Sure.
Right. And like what is that? And I think that your explorations with Olgaruth like are really fascinating because we're the imagined world or the metaverse or whatever you want to call it, right? And the quote unquote real world are getting blurred.
Sure.
So much. And I see us, Oaklandish, and this collab is like, at least we're providing like a physical incarnation of your world, like a window into your world that's for just, regular person consumption, right? And so this might get people into your world who might not normally find their way there. Because they're not interested in sci-fi or they're not interested in technology, but they see a shirt that they think is cool. And that opens up the window into the world.
Sure. But it's also like what you mentioned, in terms of, even as I ask about sci-fi, real life is becoming more sci-fi every minute, like even again, on another one of these talks, I brought up the fact that I'm talking to you like you're in the room with me right now.
Right.
And that is one of the most sci-fi-est things that I can consider right now. You got me wondering, what is the dumb stuff that you're reading as of late?
Oh, I mean, stuff like Jack Reacher, the series that just had the first season on TV, right? So this ex-army guy, it's a lot of like people chasing people and solving crimes and blowing things up and yeah, a lot of like detective stuff, I guess. I don't know, like CIA and like, I don't know, things about like CIA operatives and things like that.
Okay.
Just like totally escapist stuff,
Yeah.
Like there's really like no meaning there, right? There's no greater meaning there in most of the books that I've been reading lately.
Well, I think even escapism, because I definitely, again, like that's my work, the window into your own imagination, that I'm trying to create for people, and I think that there is absolute value in even like whether you're traveling to find important pieces of yourself or creating internal adventures, and internal travels and connections, and processes that get your wheels turning, so I think
I'm the opposite. I just want the brain to turn off.
Yeah.
So I just read the dumb things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think um, I don't think I want to have the space to reflect on it, on anything really.
Mm,
Um,
yeah, I think just giving yourself whatever it is for you. I think it's healthy for sure. You know,
mhm,
I know again with visiting Oaklandish and seeing the parts in motion and so on and so forth,
mhm.
I can absolutely understand uh the strategy in having a decompress, you know, with whatever else you're doing, you know, with
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mean to say that like I don't want to think about anything ever. I just feel like I spent all day and up to like, like 9:30 thinking about things and still responding to emails and watching all the social media, what's happening. And, you know,
Well,
yeah.
being both, you know, professionally and I'm sure personally, because you're also a parent, uh,
Hmm.
you're a firefighter, you know, and you're if when you own a business and it is yours, you know, you're constantly again waiting for somebody to bring you a problem, you know, and you
Hmm.
are the person that has to solve it. You are the person that has to jump to solutions and send an email to somebody else and
Right.
send an email, you know, and wait for this call. So again, you know, like my uh yeah, my ex-girlfriend, she is a owner of her own business, and I I I definitely remember sitting down with her all the time and her phone, and she's
Hmm.
constantly receiving texts and emails. And yeah, when we were sitting together, she wanted to decompress. You know, can you turn the lights down in here? You know,
Yeah.
it's like okay. So I get that for sure. You know, um, any honestly, you know, again, like with the way that you've run the business, and I think anybody that has owned and operated and pushed through the pandemic,
Hmm.
um and is thriving in the way that you are, um I think it's worthy to ask, like, what recommendations do you have for anybody who is sitting at home saying, I want to start a business, I want to create something and create value in the same way? What words would you have for those people?
Um, I mean, I think that the data show that actually a lot of people have started their own businesses during the pandemic.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that, you know, people say like you should follow your passions, right? And I don't know what mine are. Um, but it's not, I don't think at any point in my life was it my passion to make t-shirts,
Hmm.
right? I think that it's all about whether you think what you're doing has meaning and impact on other people.
Hmm.
So from just, the things that we create, whether they make other people happy and whether in the course of doing it, you think that you've acted honorably
Hmm.
and treated other people well. Um, like, I think that what we've seen with the pandemic with a lot of businesses is that, this is mostly large businesses, but that their employees were never that engaged.
Hmm.
And so a lot of them, there's been so much churn in the labor market because people realize that they weren't enjoying their jobs and they
Hmm.
really wanted to be doing something else, which is part of why so many people started their own businesses during, the last couple of years. And it's not about, I don't think, the specific thing that your business makes. Um, but finding people, like surrounding yourself with people that you like working with, and that you can be, you know, yourself in front of. Like I've never had a corporate job, so I don't know what that's like to like hide a large part of yourself, or to be, you know, just the outside of a person. But I would imagine that that's one of the hardest things of like having like a regular person job, is that you don't actually get to bring your full self to work, and you'd never get to know the people that you're working with. It's not like I know the deep dark secrets of everyone who works at Oaklandish, but it's like everyone can just be who they are. You don't have to hide any aspect of it. And just to feel like we have a common purpose, and that we're always trying to push the boundaries and learn new things and just like have fun doing it. You know, we used to have like really strict schedules, really strict launch schedules. So we'd be like, we're going to launch the fall launch on September 22nd. We would decide like 6 months in advance or something. And then like everyone would do their different parts of the projects, and then it would always be a mad rush the last 2 or 3 weeks, and everybody was stressed out. And, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, we just stopped doing that. It's like, what were we accomplishing? You know, and it turns out that that decision was made around the same time that a lot of brands much larger than us kind of moved away from like the big fall, spring launch schedule and moved to a more collection or capsule based calendar. And that also works well given people's extremely short attention spans these days, right? It's like when we had a whole collection that was 30 different designs and we're trying to tell a story about those, like people don't have the time or the desire to like delve into their, you know, whatever t-shirts they're going to buy to that extent, right? You just see it for 3 seconds on Reels or on your IG, you know, timeline. So, I mean, I think that's been a good thing. And I think that like the way that you're going to unveil Olgaruth also is smart in doing it in these different phases and these different ways of getting into it. Again, because of the diversity of the people that I hope will be drawn to it, but because you can't unveil a story with such scope all at once. So I think that that'll be fun, and it's like that keeps people's attention.
Yeah, you said a lot there that really made my wheels turn, you know. And 2 things, you know, like the when you were talking about basically the pandemic making people more aware of the cycles that they are involved in, you know, more aware of their relationship with their corporate jobs and the corporate structure of what they're doing. And yeah, a lot of people just said, what am I doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing? You know, like I you know, even you talking about, you know, the cycle that you had with Oaklandish and the way that you worked before, and it just being tuned into this constant wheel of effort, you know, and saying, well, we have to be ready for September. We have to be ready for September, right. You know, and then tuning in and saying, no, we don't. We can actually, you know, make this about something more sincere to who we are, you know. The second thing that came to mind was, you know, as I'm again, devising my business structure and getting to a point to where, I'm actually managing my excitement / anxiety at the thought of hiring people, and I'm probably at largest, I'm going to get to a point to have maybe 3 employees at most. I like 2 people sounds like a lot to me to manage and to have, but there is a strong desire for me, not only me myself, but to get to where there's so many artists and art studios in Oakland, that are just at a certain stage of business perspective. One conversation I was having with my assistant, was he runs a business that gets artists to a certain level, and there's so many middleman businesses that get artists to this professional level that's like just out of college. And then there's so many of us, like you'll see a person that's 23-year-old, working next to somebody who's 63-year-old, doing the same thing. And for me, getting to a point to where this person can start hiring people. This person can start being a resource. These people can start really, truly becoming considerate of bringing in revenue and resources, and getting to a point to where, like, I want to get to a point to where I'm hiring young people. They're being inspired. They're coming to me with a crazy ass idea that I think is like awesome, and I actually, invest in them. And I think there's something to be said about being inspired by you, and what you're doing with Oaklandish, and wanting to create a sincere workplace that makes people come and just want to be themselves. And I can let them know that you being yourself is plenty, so.
Yeah, I think that is the single most rewarding thing about running a business that has grown, right? Is that you get to mentor people, or the company gets to mentor people. Like, almost everyone who is in a management position at Oaklandish started as a part-time retail sales associate in the stores, and that goes for our chief operating officer to our head of accounting, to the production manager, customer service manager. All those people started part-time in the stores, and just to see them develop and do the kind of work that they do now is amazing. And then, you wish that you don't lose good people, but when people move on and they get that $120,000 job at Pandora because of the skills that you taught them, like, that's great, because you gave them their first job out of college. We recently had another person get a job at Facebook. We gave him a hard time about working at Facebook, but like, that's great that he now, like, he found his path through working at Oaklandish. He found what he was interested in, developed that, and then was able to get paid for it. And hopefully he can, have an impact there. But employees are also like the biggest nightmare. So that, and like what you're talking about like artists at different levels, and then in Oakland, it's like Oakland's so like segmented for everything, right? It's like there's 12 different nonprofits doing the same kind of work, all going after the same funders, who all kind of compete with each other, right? And then I'm sure as an artist, it feels the same way. And as a business, it can often feel the same way, of this like zero-sum game where it's just like, oh, I'm not going to tell you where I get that made, because then you might get something that then I won't get. right? It's like, I'm not going to share knowledge or resources because that means less for me, right? But we just like, we have to get into, like, I guess people call it like an abundance mentality, right? It's like,
Yes.
we are all going to eat together. Like, we have to make a bigger pot of food together.
Yes.
And it's like, there's like not an infrastructure for it. And like, we've tried in different ways to like build like a small business community where we can rely on each other and give each other advice on, you know, even if it's as simple as like, you know, who's your CPA or who do you use for insurance or whatever. And over the years, there have been like so many iterations of that have mostly failed. Well, that, you know, I think have all failed. And then it's even more challenging for you as an artist in the artist community. It's just like, there are probably 4 other artists in Oakland right now that like, you guys could jointly share a X, right? Like whatever it is, you know, someone who's just like on staff as a photographer, on staff as a project manager, or on staff as like HR or something, right? But it's like, there's no infrastructure in place for people to collaborate in that way, which is frustrating.
But I'm inspired by, you know, like, even as you say that, like opportunity is what flashes in my head. Like, you know, like I agree with a lot of things that you're saying, you know, like when it comes to when it comes to a person progressing themselves, a creative person progressing themselves professionally, you know, there's a lot of shit talking, you know, that happens in the Bay Area, you know, and there is that scarcity mentality, you know, instead of abundance perspective. Like when it comes to seeing things competitively, like, I love it. You know, I love looking at Allison's work, at Human's work, and being like, God damn it! Like, I gotta go back to the lab, you know. And like that makes me, you know, and I know people have to manage whatever self-esteem issues that makes them think that person is taking my opportunity. That was for me, you know. It's like, no, like we are living in a time of unprecedented abundance, like so much for anybody and everybody that just wants to go out there and get it, you know. And yeah, like a big part of what I'm doing with this Olgaruth project, what I would really like to do, you know, and you sort of reminded me that I got to go on ahead and call some people, but I want not only like this project to be a funnel from NFTs, you know, and NFT into animation studios and video gaming, you know. There's so many, there's a collection of artists who I want to reach out to, and I want to create a platform with which that is the plan of creating these 1,000 to 10,000 token projects that are just direct funnels into a 7-digit check that supports this artist and makes them, you know, there's no reason why the Bay Area, with its immense vision, you know, per capita, immense amount of vision being produced, you know, why it's not competing with Hollywood, you know, in terms of being a world broadcast of cutting edge projects.
I mean, well, that's because the rest of the infrastructure is not there, right? It's just like, it's the same cases with music in the Bay as compared to LA. Like, why does everyone have to move to Atlanta or Nashville or
LA? Yeah.
So
Yeah, like that's like I sort of noticed when I first moved here that it's like, oh, people are people are kind of afraid of money here. you know,
Mhm.
people talk shit about success, and people talk enough shit about success
Mhm.
that they're afraid of the shit that's going to get talked about them if they get too successful about things,
Mhm.
and it's just like, stop talking shit, like mind your business, like come to terms with what you want to do. Look at the structures again, like looking at Oaklandish and what you've done and stuck around, like I have heard people like talk shit about Oaklandish, and I'm like,
Mhm.
what are you talking about? Like that's they're repping like the area more than anybody else, and they're producing so much value for for again locals and Bay Area travelers, and they're just transmitting so much possibility. So like for me, um one of the benefits of the pandemic is isolating myself away from,
Mhm.
there's some people who I love a lot who talk a lot of shit,
Yeah.
and I'm glad to, I miss them, and I want to connect and take
Mhm.
walks at some point, but I'm definitely thankful for um getting a moment to decide what I want my brain to be filled with, you know,
Mhm.
and knowing that when this pandemic, when this, when this version of things ends, that vision wise, I'm gonna be a machine, like just pushing the
Mhm.
direction that feels healthiest to me and my community, and honestly, I'm just at a stage in life where it's just like, just I just want to spend the rest of my time accessing my wildest dreams,
Mhm.
and broadcasting that's really what everybody should be doing, uh is just don't bullshit yourself, so
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate that you said that, and that those ideas, and um yeah, there's so much truth to that.
Yeah. I mean, you just want to, I don't know, just want to find some your people, that you can trust and build something with. And it's I feel lucky that with Oaklandish we've been able to grow, and I've been able to do that just with Oaklandish. But like we were talking about with the different collab um, that we've done, the artist collabs, it's like everyone that we worked with, like they've fought the fight too, right? Like with the haters and you know struggling through the creative process and everything. And so it's like there's a mutual respect there, right? It's like um, that you've like been through the same battles together, and there's like you, there's kindred spirits there, right? It's like sometimes you talk to someone who's relatively new to this world, and they're like, oh, so for each shirt, if I design a shirt for you, for each shirt that you sell, you're going to pay me half of it, right? And we're like, no, that's not how it works. Like, you don't understand like the basics of how business works, like a sustainable business. And it's just hard to, it's hard to work with people who haven't been through it and seen how hard it is. Yeah, I think that people look at Oaklandish and think that we're so big now, which I think people have some mixed conceptions about that. But it's we did put in a lot of time, a lot of years, like just grinding it out at the farmers market. Um, at Christmas time, we'd like set up at the farmers market on Saturday, break down, set up at the top of Piedmont Avenue, um, and sell there until 7 o'clock at night. up until Christmas Eve. It's like I was like working in that truck selling things on Christmas Eve, and then had my son 3 days later. It's like it wasn't all glamorous. So it's like I think everyone has, I think, yeah, people just can misperceive things.
It never is as glamorous as it seems. There definitely are people that hit me up like, yo, you like our
made it, dude, right?
You're killing it right now, huh?
Yeah.
And it's like
right. It's like, do you know, like, you want me to write down like what I did minute by minute today? Right? It's just like, oh, I decided that this design on this t-shirt should be printed at 10.5 wide because of these reasons, right? It's just like, this is not.
Yes. No, there's I think when you move beyond the imagery, that people put out there, and you recognize that it's just a bunch of people busting their asses for what they believe. And again, it's don't, I think it's a grass is greener on the other side sort of thing, where everybody's just paying attention and saying, yo, that artist is really doing it, like mind your business for sure. I think that's a phrase that I've been seeing certain people who I find inspiring in my life, been posting to their social media accounts. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm mind my business and you mind yours. And we'll meet, at some point, Another thing that you said is about like connecting and finding the people that are basically your tribe and basically your feelings of just being grounded on your path, and having kindred spirits, Yeah, when I first came to Oakland, and I saw Oaklandish, and I saw like it was on my to-do list to like do my best to try to collaborate with Oaklandish, and I think I literally was like writing an email in my head. I probably had it typed out when you hit me up, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, yes, and I hit you back and we like executed the collab that we did. And I'm honored to get down with you. And I'm super excited to see where both of us go as we interweave, and throw the ball back and forth on what we find exciting and valuable, when it comes to our enterprises.
Yeah, because it's like I have no plans or intentions of like leading Oaklandish into the NFT world, but we'll tiptoe into it, around it with you as our guide. And I think that there's like just so many interesting things we can do with a shirt, right? Like some of the things that we've been talking about are going to be innovative, like truly innovative. So that's fun, right? It's just like the vast bulk of time that we spend working and living is like endless repetition of minutia. I don't know. And so it's just like to have something that's exciting and just outside of the bounds of the normal. Just that's what keeps you going. That's what makes you feel alive, right? It's just like to have an idea that you've never thought of before, or that you think maybe nobody's ever thought of before, right? It's like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, now is the time. I think there's just unlimited innovation in the moment. And there is a high likelihood that an idea that pops in your head is the first time it's ever appeared to humanity.
Right. It's just that it also popped into 7 other people's heads at the exact same time, right? Because that's how those kinds of things go.
It's a wave of inspiration that washes over, and you just have to have your surfboard ready, on if you're gonna take off on it,
Yeah.
So I don't want to hold you up. I hear the fires sending you messages and email dings and so on and so forth. But I really want to thank you for you taking your time to talk with me. And again, thank you for offering me the opportunity to use your platform as a storytelling possibility. Like it's been super awesome, and I look forward to seeing you in person. I know it's been too long.
Definitely. No, thank you. I'm like really excited about the new project. I think people are going to be surprised, and that'll be fun, because that, like, the sense of delight in the unexpected, right? Or coming upon something unexpected. I think that's beautiful. So
I'm trying to one idea before we cut out. I'm always trying to stay in touch with my inner children, and curiosity and excitement and the unexpected, and like that's what it's all about. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for making me do this. I only a little bit tried to get out of it, but it's been great talking to you.
Yes, it has been. So
it wasn't that painful.
I'm glad that we worked it out. So all right, enjoy your day, Angela.
Great, thank you. Bye.